So as we continue the journey in learning about how to use Golang, the programming language, in creating various resources using the AWS SDKs, in today's session, we will be seeing how to create a simple KMS key, which is a simple 256-bit encryption keys, which is managed inside KMS, which can be used for encrypting and decrypting data. So let's see how to do that using our Golang programming language. So let's start with kms.co, and then the first line is going to be package main, and then we're going to be and then we need some imports, and then we need to do the func main, which is the main program for our, and then we need to create the default config. So we can create a couple of variables, an error variable, and then we can call the config dot load default config, and then for the context we're not going to be passing anything, and for the region we will be passing US East 1. So the default is normally US East 1, but just to know how you can specify the region, you can pass this extra parameter. And you should be checking for errors, and I'll just show you another way. If you're not interested and want a quick way to test things, you can just use an underscore, which is telling the Golang that you don't care about the response error if there's any, but it's always a good practice to handle the errors. So the next is to create a client. So the way to do that is, let's call KMS client, and then new from config, and then we'll be passing this the config we created here. So KMS, it's not including the module here. So as usual, let's go to our documentation and then look for KMS, which will be like a key management service. So here it is, and you need this package here. So let's go back and copy that. Okay, now the error is gone. And now we need to create the input to pass into the create KMS key function. So let's call KMS input. And the way to do that is pass an ampersand KMS and then create input. So actually, to make sure that create input and then the context, and the first one is going to be the so actually let's go and see what are the required parameters for this create input key. So the easiest way is to once you're in the KMS package, you can search for like create key, which should be part of the client. And then so once you go to this function, you can click on this to get the actual values to pass into the input. So if you look here, the struct which is a complex type. Nothing is actually a required parameter, and so we can leave as is. But let's just pass in a description so that you know what the key is trying to do. So let's go back to the program here. So you can do description to encrypt and decrypt. So that's pretty much for the input. So you cannot pass in just the string. So we need to wrap it under this helper variables here. I'm missing a colon here. Actually, I take that back. I mean, this is not, we're not assigning it. We just getting this input variable with the various attributes. So you should be using the braces syntax here. Okay, so that's good. And then finally, it is time to call the create key method. So for that, you'll be using key output. You can use any variable you want, and then error KMS client dot create key is the actual function which we need to call. And the first one is the context to do. The second one is the KMS input. So it's complaining undeclared name. So apologize. I think I kind of confused you a bit. So this instance returning something, you have to assign a colon equal to, which is what's being passed here. And then finally, let's handle the error here. And then we log the error here. And finally, let's print out the ARN of the actually created KMS key. So let's do format printf, and that's going to be star key output, and then it's going to be under key metadata. So let's see what I mean here. So this one, so if you go back, this is the output that's coming as part of this input, right? This function, whenever you call this method, it's going to return this type, which has a type of key metadata. And then if you go inside the metadata, you're going to get the key ID. We're looking at ARN and the key ID. So let's print those things out now. And then the next one is the format dot printf, and then we can print the key ID. And then key ID. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's save it and give it a shot. So that's going to be go run create KMS. So as usual, we'll always get to one or two errors, which is good. We can try to fix what's going on. And then line number 10. So it's saying the package is not there. So we know how to do. So we need to do a go mod tidy. So it's going to download this package from the GitHub. And now if you run it again, so now it's giving its undefined values. So let's go back to the program and see what's going on there. Okay, so the key metadata should be a capital K. So if you go back to the documentation, it is key metadata, the capital K. I think that should do it. Let's go back to the command line and then run it one more time. Key ID is created, and this is the ARN, and this is the key ID. So let's go to the console, go to KMS, and then this is the customer managed key, and there's no alias, and this is the key ID. And if you go there, this is the ARN, which is what should have been printed here. 1212, and the SDK typically comes up with the default key policies and stuff. So anyway, this is a simple example, so we don't want to complicate too many things. And the goal of this whole series is to make you understand how to use the SDKs and do something within the AWS environment. So we will pick up some interesting use cases or create something complicated tooling using this in the future. But I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to be focused on doing a Lambda functions using Golang. So I think that will be more interesting, as Lambda is a very powerful serverless architecture. And once you start writing Golang and upload these zip files to Lambda, you can use Lambda to interact with various services and do a lot of things, which we can automate a lot of things within the AWS environment. So anyway, we will be looking at a few of those examples in the upcoming video sessions. Okay, and until then, keep practicing, and I'll see you soon.